Hey guys, Veebat here with another V-Plays, taking a look at an ME-262 engine with wings. So that's essentially what this aircraft is. You're looking at the Messerschmitt Project 1092, and the project designation is going to be for all the aircraft that never were actually produced, maybe a few mock-ups, but essentially were paper airplanes, in the sense that they were engineered and not that they were literally paper. But this aircraft is going to be the Tier 9 iteration coming off of what's essentially the Bf-109 line or the altitude fighter for the Germans. The nice thing about this aircraft is, aside from being a jet, which means you get to go a lot faster, is that you are going to be looking at a set of 4 20mm cannons that have pretty substantial range and very good effect on the target. I'd say one of the things I really like about these guns is, well, besides the overall damage output and relatively high rate of fire, is that with the range on these, you're going to be able to reach out and touch targets out to 2,600 feet, and then on top of that, you're also going to get more consistent gun performance, because up until this point, you've kind of been relegated to the idea that you have this random set of guns. Like, you start out with a meal and you have 3 different types of cannons, and you kind of retain a similar setup for quite a while until you eventually settle in on this aircraft, which has 4 of the exact same gun, which is always nice to have very consistent guns, because then you know exactly what to expect from them. Yes, I see the Heavy behind me. Let's go ahead and do some fancy maneuvering here. I know it can outperform, so let's go ahead and do just that. The aircraft is fairly maneuverable, and again, this damage output is pretty substantial. Just got to be careful of the guns overheating, because they will overheat quickly and it takes a while to get them back. Now, the antithesis to this for the Germans is going to be the TA-183 over here, which actually is equipped with 4 30mm Mark 108s, so essentially envision a 262 with some pretty sizable, some pretty good maneuverability. So another single engine fighter, and this is something that has stood the test of time, the idea that having a single engine fighter essentially reduces the overall amount of maintenance that you need to do to the airframe. And this is especially true during the early phases of jet fighters, because these things were expensive to maintain and use and very complicated, and not everybody understood them very well. In fact, the ME-262's engines, the JUMOs, typically lasted about 30 hours before they needed to be completely swapped out, which is not really saying much for the jet age, if you would. Come on into my parlor. All right. There we go. Like I said, the damage on these guns is pretty substantial, so even this B2 here, I can give a bit of a run up for his money as I lay out some serious damage on him. We're going to get some distance and probably come back on this airframe. Pretty good maneuverability. And while I don't like the idea of sitting in the tail gunner for a long period of time, the damage output means that I'm not going to have to stay there long. Slowing down, getting those guns on target. We'll let them overheat on that one, and let's get out of here. Burn some of this boost. Find the next target, and let's get our altitude back. It is nice having an 8-second boost on this airframe. It's worked out pretty well for me. And it's a really easy transition coming off of the ME-209. In fact, I'd go so far as to say it's been a pleasure. Alright, Humphreys, why don't you want to come at me? I feel like you could easily have put a few shots in me there.
A rocket has reached the target. Enemy objects damaged.
There we go. Let's let those guns settle in a little bit more. Flaps, brakes, got him. Nice. And that's what this aircraft is pretty good at doing, is being able to get the jump on the enemy, isolate, and destroy. And I'm not getting into turny dogfights with other aircraft. I'm trying to avoid that, because I can always use my altitude and airspeed to get out of there. Yeah, another bot GA is coming in. Wish there was something a little bit more substantial, but kills is kills, right? And it's always good to get some HP damage out of the airframe. Tempest? You know what, I've been accused of kill stealing recently, so I'm going to let that guy go. I'm willing to believe that my Tempest can handle that target. The other nice thing about the... oh, geez. That's a lot of aircraft. The other nice thing about the overall damage output on this aircraft is that I'm not afraid of going after bombers if I have to. But I definitely don't want to go up against 3, because it's turning out to be nearly 4 aircraft at this point. Let's isolate and destroy one at a time. Don't head on these things, he's got rockets. There we go.
Way to go.
You can see that F-94 was essentially standing still, which is a great situation for us.
Victory is in sight. Keep it up.
How is he not dead? I'll tell you, these air defense aircraft just want to set him up. I'll knock him down. Whew. Again, if you can get these guns to make contact, nasty, nasty. Again, do not line up on aircraft with rockets. I did it anyways. I thought I could have got the jump on him. But he got some damage out, but he got a lot more. But I'll take that as a win. Solid ×2 out for the day. Akamatsu Metal Conqueror. Let's go back to the hangar and take a look at this aircraft. Alright, so here we are at the end result screen, and as you can see, we did fairly well. We got a decent amount of experience. We also got a token. The aircraft did fairly well for us. The Akamatsu medal for getting 10 kills without dying is awesome. I hope I'm not butchering that name. And overall, it's a solid performing aircraft, and I think the thing that really kicks it over the edge is just having very standard guns. You're looking at guns that fire at a rate of 700 rounds a minute. They're 20mm cannons. They feel very similar to kind of the higher rate of fire American 20s, but with a little bit more of a crisp feel, if that makes any more sense. I don't know if it's the sound or if it's the velocity of the shells, but that range of 2,600 feet really makes it feel like I can reach out and touch aircraft much further out, and the damage per second is relatively high, which allows me to be able to attrit away a lot of health very quickly. You're looking at 800 damage per second here, which is pretty substantial. And yeah, it says 200 here, but that's ×4, right? So this is an awesome capability, and it allowed us to be able to take out those GAs relatively quickly without having to sit in the tail gunners too long. I do have this thing modded out for kind of a balanced build, so we've got maneuverability, we've got speed, and I threw some accuracy mods on here, so hopefully you're kind of seeing the in-between version of this. But if you wanted to min-max in any particular direction, I think there's plenty of room to do so. If you do decide that you're going to specialize in this airframe, you do have the option for an additional engine consumable and engine equipment, and you can also put on there some forward firing armament modification to get those guns to reach out and touch people even further. But I will warn you that you saw how quickly the guns overheat, and once they've overheated, they take a bit of time to cool off in order for you to get them back on target. So just bear that in mind, have some trigger control and trigger discipline, and I think you'll really enjoy this aircraft. And it very much is just a 262 engine with some wings slapped on. You can even see here, just looking at that engine on the left hand side, and boop, there it is. It's the exact same concept here. Anyways, hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll catch you on the next one.